Oh boy, a lot of games today, a lot of games to watch. 114 days of this, so 112 to go. This is day 2. This is the first day that it was overwhelming. And I covered a lot of the playoffs, and I did every game in that as well. And this was the first day that I was like, oh, I just can't physically keep track of everything. So I had to go back and watch stuff and just keep an eye on scores and whatnot. But let's start. Obviously, Buffalo Sabres versus Washington Capitals. Usually I'll wear the winning team's jersey. However, I don't have a Caps jersey, so this will just do. Interesting game. Interesting game to start off with. I feel sorry if you're a Buffalo Sabres fan. I really do, because for a while it's kind of been like, when are they going to take that next step? When are they eventually going to get out of this playoff hump? And I know it's the first game, and I know there's a lot of players that haven't played with a lot of these people, and I think teams that are in that sort of boat are going to struggle in the first week or two, just as synergy and chemistry and working out lines is going to happen in just real games, because there's no fake ones to sort this out. But a lot of what we saw today is a lot of what we've seen the last few years from the Sabres. Defensive lapses the first goal of Ovechkin, great assist. It was unreal, that assist. But just really soft in front of the Buffalo Sabres net, which has just been a common thread. And I think probably one of their worst, least spoken about issues with that team. It's just quite soft. The Carlson breakaway, where was the defense? Were they changing? And if so, then those are the moments where you got to get that puck in deep. You can't be playing you can't be doing those soft little passes that end up being turnovers. And then obviously the Eric Staal one, when the team was starting to get back into the game, they pretty much gave away a goal again. Goaltending wasn't great either. They had some real bright spots today. Taylor Hall scoring his first goal. He was quite good out there. Olofsson was really good as well. Obviously noticed Jack around the play a little bit as well. McCabe, pretty decent as well. The Royal Blue jerseys are just... I'll be definitely trying to... I've got... the next jerseys are reverse retros, and I'm getting 6 or 5 of them. It's a lot from Ben H Sports, and then after that it might be a Royal Blue might be coming in, because that just looks spicy. It looks like a really good jersey, doesn't it? So there were some bright spots, but overall, not the best game in the world, and it's just had shadows of seasons previous, so I can't see them turning it around dramatically here and being able to make the playoffs. And can someone please call the FBI and just put a missing persons for Jeff Skinner? I haven't seen him since that contract year, wondering where he is. I'm sure he's out there. I'm sure he's there, but I just don't see him. On the other side of things, the Capitals, they were very opportunistic. They took their goals when they could. However, they drew a lot of heat from what they did in the postseason this year, and coming in and just not being good. Someone within our own organisation, Elliot Friedman, reported to say that they knew that they were screwed in the training camp before that, just with the way they were training. And they kind of had that sort of situation today. Outside of Ovi and some of the big players, I just felt the whole performance was a bit lacking. They let Buffalo in a few times, and it was credit to Buffalo for trying to get back into this game, but if they just play like that, they're going to get annihilated. But same with the Capitals. If they let teams back in, and they this is a team that never used to do this, if they start letting teams in, and then they're going to have some real issues. Outside of some individual brilliance and some goals that were really gifted to them, and pretty poor goaltending on their part, I don't think it was a great game. I think that Ryder Samsonov goal, I know he got interfered with a little bit, but you've got to rush to that other post and get down. You've got to have awareness of where that puck is. He just seemed to be standing up and a bit lazy on that play. And that was, there's a few plays like that just seemed a bit lazy, and that's how the Sabres were able to just stay in this game and try to eke something out. But obviously they weren't able to, so and that's pretty much it. Both teams have a lot to do. It's the first game, I know, but this was probably the first game that I watched that I was like, both teams have a huge gap to get to, especially playing in this division, the divisions that they're in, to be successful. I think there's a huge way for both teams. I think the Capitals are probably more likely to reach that than the Sabres. I just think the Sabres it just looks so familiar, that game for the Sabres, and I apologise if you're a Sabres fan. And we move on to another game, which was a Grizzled Vet team up against the young up-and-comers that you're just hoping can just take that extra step and go over the line and have a better season. In the Boston Bruins versus the Devils. And oh boy, let's just say it how it is. Blackwood might be for real. yeah, he was great last season, and it was kind of like, let's see, give me one more season. Give me one more, and we can see what it is. And yeah, reminds me a lot of Gibson with those Ducks, when the Ducks weren't very good, and he was like pretty much throwing them to victories. He was the reason why they were in this game. They did not start well. Boston came out with a veteran presence that have been here before and have done this before, and boy, did they show it. They really did. Yeah, I think it was 16 shots to 4 in the first. It was something on those lines. Yeah, they were just absolutely all over it. They weren't able to keep that up as the game went along, and I kind of think they ran out of legs, so that would be my one worry. However, obviously, you'll get that throughout the season. But yeah, that was the one thing I was a little bit worried about, but it did play out like a bit more like a Bruins game for the rest of it. They were really in control even though the game was tied. There was some luck on the Devils' sense, but we'll get to that. So the first goal in the first period was by Boston. It was on the power play. It was the weirdest exit out of a penalty kill lineup that I've seen in a long time. Hopefully they'll learn from that. There was a few young kids obviously on the Devils lineup. However, Zajac was the one that turned over the puck. He didn't get it deeper, and you expect him to be able to be better. And then if you go watch that goal. He is all at sea on the back check. He doesn't know who he's covering. He doesn't know what he's doing. Passer comes across, and Marchand puts it in. Bergeron gets his first point as a captain. Krejci with the other helper there. So that was a pretty nice goal to start things off. The second period was a bit uneventful outside. It was just Boston shelling Blackwood, and he just coming up big the whole time. They were able to keep the 2-on-1s down, which I was happy with the Devils, but they did not have zone control. But they'll get that as things get better for them. I was impressed with Hughes. Then they finally get a break, and Wood gets a breakaway after a turnover. The blue line of Boston, which is probably the only real worry for them this season. No Chara, who I think, even though ability-wise might not be there, I think he really was the straw that stirred that drink a little bit, and then Krug as well is a big loss. Big turnover, ends up Wood on a breakaway, and he buries it. And then Ritchie gets his first goal of the season. Grzelcyk, I thought, was quite good on the power play as well for Boston. I did want to mention that. I thought he was quite good. And then my boy, probably one of my favorite players. He obviously having the YouTube channel from 2 years ago. Not doing videos full-time, that's only been a recent occurrence, but I was very high on Ty Smith that draft, and the fact that he scored probably the weirdest goal I've seen in a long time. He fired it from the point. It was a cool little toe drag, like little shimmy. I kind of liked it, and I saw he scored, and I wasn't watching the game at the time. I was flicking through. I think I was on the Calgary game at this point, because I just didn't think Devils would come back, and I was like, yeah, I can get the highlights of the third. And and then it bounces off McAvoy and like 3 other Bruins players, and somehow just ends in the net. And it's like, I don't even know how that happens. The other thing I did want to mention is McAvoy was quite good this game as well. There was a few moments where it looked like the Devils might get a bit of a breakaway, and he was able to sort of prevent it. And I thought Rask was solid when he needed to be. There was huge periods of time where he didn't see a puck, and those games can be a bit worrying. And he was big when he needed to. Yeah, those 2 goals went through. I mean, you can't blame him for that Ty Smith goal. Like, it's just... Sometimes just hockey is just weird. It's a weird sport, and the fact that goes into a net, like, it just sucks. Then overtime happened, and this is where the concern might be for Boston fans, is that they did not look good in that overtime. Hughes almost won it. If Zajac was any good, again, another flaw from Zajac, who I just don't think has it anymore. Missed pretty much an empty net to be able to win that game. Went to a shootout, Marchand, no worries at all, 5-hole. He knows how to score. So yeah, Bruins get 2 points. Devils, handy point for the Devils. But yeah, I would rather be a Devils fan than a Buffalo fan, because I just think like at least you can see an upside from last year. Couldn't see that from the year before. No Islanders jersey, that's why I'm in the Rangers. Of course, I know that they won 4-0. It was a dominating game from the Islanders. I'm impressed with what the Rangers are doing. I think they've been able to pivot this rebuild quite quickly. It helps when you win the draft lottery and get Lafreniere, who, by the way, has put on a bit of size since the draft. Like, he looks like a bona fide NHLer. But at their exit interview video that I made, I mentioned that this defense worries me a fair bit. And, those worries weren't squashed today at all. As a Penguins fan, I was going to say ex-Penguins fan. As a Penguins fan, I understand what it's like having Jack Johnson on your team. Enjoy that for a season. Enjoy it. First goal was a silly penalty that he did in front of the net. Just pretty much manhandling someone in front. That led to a goal. Just able to get down low. It was just... the Islanders struggled on the power play, and they definitely got a bounce on this, but Nielsen, had his stick on the ice, and he was ready to swoop on it. It was a bit of a pinball puck, but that happens in this game. It happened. Second goal was kind of a bit of karma. Barzal, there seemed to be a strategy against the Rangers. It was get low and pass it across. Very like NHL video gamey sort of things, but they weren't able to cut those passes off a lot of the time. They were, and Barzal, put it in front. Lee got a stick up top here, bleeding a little bit, nothing too crazy, but he definitely got walloped with a stick, and that ended it. That was from a turnover. That whole transition play, and then the puck goes down the ice as Lee's stumbling to the bench. All of a sudden, the puck's in his feet. It's a 2-on-1, and he buries it. Shoshoroskin would probably want that back again, maybe. It was still a 2-on-1, so there was a lot going on. Defensively, they need to help him out. Now, the next play, I'm not sure who to blame. So, Jack Johnson has a puck, and that's already just... no. Oh, no. And it's not like the ref moved, that he threw it right into the ref. It bounces out, goes to Barzal, and Barzal just dipsy-doodles. But if you look at Jack Johnson, there's literally no one else there. He can commit to Barzal at that point, and he just doesn't. And Shoshoroskin, I hate saying that name, Igor, may again should have had that one. At least one of those two you would like him to get. But it's his first game, so you get it, and he's coming off some injuries. And it just gets buried, and it's 3-0. Soon to become 4 on another power play goal. And that was pretty much the game. It was kind of like at that point, especially at the 4-0, I was like, oh, this is just done. It's just done. But Varlamov was quite good in net. I thought the defense of the Islanders just stood up the whole time. Really, Pullock, I think is great. What else? I mean, nothing really happened outside of the second intermission when Pajot punched Lemieux, but then Lemieux clearly took a dive and he got an embellishment penalty and then a roughing. That I'm glad the refs offset that because it was such a dive, especially from Lemieux. But I like the fact he was getting in the face at the end. And the third period just kind of happened. That was it. It was like, both teams were like, yeah, we know the result. And that's a sucky thing about sports sometimes, is when you're playing it, is you know the result sometimes. There's nothing you can do. You're like, yeah, well, we know what's going to happen here. The Islanders, much deserved 2 points. I was wondering how they're going to come out against a speedy Rangers team, and they did quite well. Well, we found out what a game looks like when it's 42 shots to 14. Oh boy. Carolina Red Wings, ended 3-0. Mrazek with a shutout. Congratulations to Mrazek. It's a big shot. I mean, not that many shots against you, but shutout's a shutout. You'll always take them. It's not as one-sided, this game. I did watch most of this game, and it wasn't as one-sided as one was to believe if you look at the shots. Carolina are always a team that outshoots opponents. That's the way they play. They PDO their way to success. They just try to put it on the net a lot more, and a lot of them are nothing saves. However, they had some really great chances at goal. Some really good chances along the way, and Grice was absolutely lights out this game. I had no idea Grice had this in him. Some of the saves he made were unbelievable, and I don't know where it came from. Aho ends up getting a great assist while just having at 3 Red Wings dangling off him. Manages to have the peace of mind to give it to Nino Ryder all alone because they're all on Aho, and he does a cheeky little toe, and that's in. And that was all the scoring until right at the end of the game when there was a tip in by Dzingel. There was 2 minutes to go for that and then an empty netter. But in between, it was just Carolina. That was all it is. They just came in waves. And Mrazek was good when he needed to. He probably made 3 really good saves, real high-end saves that if it wasn't for him, easily would have been a goal. And that would have put Detroit in the game. I'm a bit worried with Carolina if they're going to have trouble finding the net. Again, Grice was great. He made some really great saves, but I would have liked to see a little bit more individual brilliance and not just and be a little bit more patient with the puck. Like, you're out shooting your opponents, especially at the end there. I think it was like 20 shots to 4 or something. Hold the puck a little bit. Just hold it a little bit more. Wait till the good shot to put on, because they were just sort of throwing it in from the blue line. I really like Brady Shea. They had a good couple of face-off plays with him. Sorry about the washing machine going off, by the way, but yeah, I've got to wash my cricket whites for tomorrow, so I cannot wait. But yeah, it could have definitely been a lot better that game, and yeah, I think Carolina really should have dominated more on the scoreboard. Because yeah, if one of those bouncing pucks in front of the net went in, and it was 1-1 with like 8 minutes to go, all of a sudden the Red Wings, who are a younger team, have a little bit more to go by. I liked Larkin's game, by the way. I thought he was out and about, but yeah, their defense is just not good on the Red Wings side of things. 55 more games till the draft. I think that's it for the Red Wings. Carolina, you just like them to finish off teams like this a little bit better, be able to get more scoring. Aho was great again. Like, everyone played well, they just couldn't score for whatever reason. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. There's not much you can analyze in this game. It really was very one-sided. Plus, nothing super interesting happened. It wasn't like there wasn't anything. And I went back to like look at the thing, and it's just like, yeah, this game just happened. Like, no one tweeted about it, no one said anything. I was like, no, I didn't miss anything. Nothing really happened. No jersey for Columbus, Nashville. Don't have either of them. I'm going to get one of them in the reverse retro, and then the other one. I mean, I really want the Columbus Cannon jersey. So Ben H Sports, if you're watching this, when we do the random jerseys, which is, I mean, that's ages away to the next one of them, just because I'm getting so many reverse retros from him. It'll be the Cannon. I love that Cannon jersey. Yeah, Nashville winning 3-1 in this game. Oh boy, what to say about this one. Let's start with some positives for both teams. I thought both goaltenders were amazing. I think Saros had a great game. A little bit of luck on one of the post-to-post that Ekholm was there to block it, but outside of that, I thought it was great. Korpisalo, I watched most of the start of this game and then sort of caught it again towards the end. Again, I only have 2 eyeballs and there was about 90 games on at once, so there's a lot going on here, and you can fill in some gaps. You kind of know where the game's going at some points. Korpisalo, I think the first 10 shots that he faced were medium to high scoring chances, and he stopped them all. He really put his team in to win a game here, and at no point did his team help him out. Defensively, offensively, I would really like Dubois and Seth Jones to put more of a stamp on a game going forward. I felt like they weren't the superstars that they're touted to be, and I think they do have that in them. I think Dubois is still yet to be seen whether he can be at that level, but Texier, I thought was around, so like I didn't think he had a bad game, but yeah, just man, it was pretty full on. Some of the scoring chances both teams was giving up, but I thought that Nashville were giving up scoring chances, but they were a bit more reasonable in the amount of them. Like, there'd be a bit of a delay so Saros could get his breath and get everything back. It all started with a terrible turnover in the scoring, which is just a common trend that someone's just trying to get too cute with a backhand pass, and Boone Jenner, being a big body that he is, was just in the way, and that's sometimes all you got to do. He gets a breakaway and he puts it in. Not the only breakaway this game, there was tons of breakaways. I don't know why there were so many of them. It was a really weird game. Like, it was just an odd game with the amount of scoring chances. Any other team would kill to have these scoring chances in a game on both sides. Credit to Nashville, but I do want to credit Nashville, because I do think they started tightening up as the game went along, and they started helping Saros out after Saros bailed him out a few times. And I also feel like, even though they weren't scoring, because they weren't scoring for a long time, and it is a really big trend to then look up in the heavens and go, it's just not our night, and then lose a game. It did take a bit of individual brilliance. Cunnin, who I really want to see how he goes this season, after an exit from Nashville, was able to bat a puck out of the air and then shoot one by Korpisalo. Very similar sort of play at the next period as we sort of get further along for Forsberg. He was able to just, way too easy for him to get in the zone. At least the Cunnin was just a great individual play. It ended in a 2-on-1 because the way he was able to get the puck out of the air. Forsberg was able to just get a premium scoring chance, and you really should be able to. It was quite a lazy goal from Blue Jackets, and one of their commentators at the end of the game said, it would have been nice if Korpisalo had that. he had about 15 in this game. It was not his fault that they lost. Then it was an empty netter, and that was the game. But yeah, it really was. They had their chances to score. They really did have their chances to score, Columbus, but they need to do better in front of their goaltending, or else you can't sustain that for a whole game. It was way too many high scoring chances. It was probably the worst defensive effort I think we saw today, and that says a lot because it was a team that had 42 shots to 14. But I think just high scoring chances against this game was the one that really stood out. Corpusalo just was great. Yeah, anyway, we'll get to the stars. Oh, and I just wanted to mention that the game started with a catfish on the ice with a mask on it, and that was just delightful to see. We're in Nashville, you get the catfish, and yeah, it had a mask on it, and there's just an ice trainer with it, showing everyone that it had a mask, and I thought that was great. I just thought it was great. Obviously there was so much hockey today, and just nothing was quite as delightful as that, I thought. And then we had to what I think may have been game of the night. The Winnipeg Jets beating the Calgary Flames, but it was just a chaotic game of almost two halves. And yeah, it all started with... Well, it's opening night, and yeah, Flames have an interesting history where they have not won an opening night for the last 10 years, which is crazy, because you think, they actually had some success, in between that time. Ginla was on the team. That's to bring that home. I think the only player that was there when they won was Giordano. I think. I could be wrong with that, but I think he was the only player that's still there now. And now it's 11, and they're getting close to the Memphis Grizzlies, who are 14-0, and that's the record for the worst opening nights in history. So yeah, it's such an odd stat to have. But yeah, but let's dive in. So the first period was all the Flames, absolutely, all the Calgary Flames. Yeah, Winnipeg had no answer to them, and I was kind of oh, this is indicative of kind of what I thought, that Winnipeg just wouldn't be up to the play in the Canadian division. They proved me wrong later in the game, but yeah, it was just all the Flames. Matthew Tkachuk on the power play, getting a tip in front. Bit easy for him, they weren't making it hard on him in front of the net. Bear in mind, it's the first game of a 56-game season. You're not going to be first game ready to rock and roll. But yeah, it was just able to kind of be there, and he made them pay. I like his little goal celebration. He kind of just did this. I think he was kind of I can't believe just how easy that was. But yeah, managed to score, made that 1-0. Then the Flames kept pushing, and they pretty much had an empty net if it wasn't for Forbett in front. Just able to stop a puck being able to be put in, and you need to be able to bury those chances, because they rued that day. Forbett ends up getting an assist as the puck goes to Connor, which goes up to Laine. Laine's got too much time, and that's the one player you don't want to give too much time for, and it is 1-1, and it really could have been 2-0. That could have been it. That would have been a real big dagger if it was 2-0, especially the way the Jets played for the rest of the period. Forbett gets an assist, but it's like a double assist. It was he just kind of stopped there and saves a goal. And it's cool that you get credited on the score sheet for saving a goal and ends up getting an assist. So congratulations, Forbett. But yeah, what a shot by Laine. And we'll get to some of the other stuff Laine did this game. You might want to trade him if you're the Jets. Back on the power play for the Flames. Again, the Jets weren't very disciplined in the first period. There was penalties in the second, but there were more gritty, helping the team out penalties, not just bad penalties, which are things that kill you. Yeah, it was just a great tic-tac-toe move. Gaudreau, even though he's left-handed, was able, on the wrong side, was able to corral it, and just not enough time for Hellebuyck to get across. So it is 2-1 at that point. And it's kind of yeah, well, Laine got that lucky goal, but Flames are dominating. Flames are really dominating at this point. And then through a really good forecheck, Lindholm ends up getting a goal off a one-timer. Dubé does quite well down low. It's 3-1. We're going into the intermission, and it's kind of Flames are going to run over. I was just yeah, okay, I'll watch the next 5 minutes, because I watched pretty much this game. This was the game that I really had on during this time slot, and had the other ones on the other screen just sort of intermittently going in and out. And I just thought, Flames had this, I'll watch it for another 5 minutes. If Flames score another goal, then I'll probably move on and get more of a gist from the other games. And Yeah, what happened with the Winnipeg Jets is like they swapped out teams. They just swapped out teams and they came out hungry and they scored almost immediately to start the game. Ehlers keeping the puck alive in the zone and then yeah, within diving to keep it alive. And you're like, where was this in the first period? And it wasn't like the Flames changed. And the Flames, I feel like, played with the same tempo for the rest of the game. But the Jets from the second period onwards dominated this game because they just went to this new level. Like I said, it's like they swapped out the entire lineup, and yeah, whatever the coach said, it worked. Yeah, and the dive from Ehlers keeps the puck in, ends up going to, they end up putting another shot on net, and then Scheifele's just able to tap it in, and it is 3-2 at that point, and a little bit worried. I'm like, oh, the Jets have come out here, so maybe this might be a game. And boy howdy, the rest of the period, the Jets were trying stuff. They were physical, they had a great forecheck established, and they were trying stuff. You had Pionk doing spinoramas on the blue line with the puck. It was just like like I said, a completely different team came out. They were then on the power play. Lane was really driving that power play. Manages to source a fantastic pass to Kyle Connor. Whips that straight in. Boy, do they just have two great goal scorers in this team with Connor and Lane? And it's 3-3. And then just before the intermission, a little bit of fun brouhaha, which I thought was going to be a fight, but the referee was in the middle of 9 players as if all 9 players were giving birth to the referee. It's just the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. At some point, you just need to let these guys go. And I don't get why, because they're a superstar, the ref's involved. But if it was 2 goons or 2 people lower, they would have been allowed to fight. But anyway, Halifin throws Kyle Connor with a bit of a dangerous hit. I don't think it was too intentional. He did back off a little bit. He just drove it a little bit, and then Kyle Connor does kind of go down a little bit just as the hit comes, and he he's bracing to get the puck. And he goes face first. And Lane, the guy that they're rumoured to trade away and isn't a good locker room guy and all of that stuff, gets into a fight, or tries to get into a fight with Halifin. Just, no, this is not on. And he looks like he's lost some hair as well, which is not great. But he was, he was for it. He was there for his teammates, which is great to see. I don't know what more you want from him in this game, because he was great. Third period, it hummed along. It hummed along at the 3-3 pace. Markstrom made an amazing save. There was a couple of times he was out of the net and had to really recover quite quickly, but that one towards the end, where it was just a comedy of errors. He went to go handle the puck and he missed it. Then it was a block shot, and then he's just driving. He's pretty much going across the ice, and if the Jets player just had that little bit more patience, even just a split second, Markstrom would have gone too far, and it would have been a goal. But yeah, it plucks out of the air. Early contender for save of the year. I know I hate hearing that, but that was a great save. I'm gonna a bit of luck's involved, but yeah. Then goes into overtime where Lane scores in just a weird goal. He gets it down low on defense, and he just faces the Calgary Flames, the 2 Calgary Flame players that are behind the net for 10 seconds, as if he's gonna pass it to them. He just takes off, and then he scores. He bobbles it a little bit and then just puts it in. It's 4-3, and the Jets get the 2 points. Obviously, Flames getting the 1 point, so handy for them. But it was super weird. That was just odd. The way he was just holding the puck, looking at them. And then he just went. I thought he was, just holding it a little bit and then I was going to pass it off. But no, he just went, oh, okay, well, I'll just go then. And then he just took off like a cannon. It's oh, that's so odd. Yeah, don't know what to say. Don't have a Oilers jersey, so we're going to wear Vancouver for this one. Oilers win 5-2 against the Vancouver Canucks. Pretty good game again. Very open, very Canadian division. It's going to be the theme that there's going to be goals, and a lot of pretty much every game has had goals, and this was no different. Big on the Oilers to come back and make sure you win. I think a lot of success this year is if you do lose a game, just making sure you don't lose back to back against the same team. Just because if you do a couple of those, then things get away from you pretty quick. So really good rebound game from them. The biggest difference, I think, throughout the entire game, McDavid scoring 3 helps, and we'll get to that. But they're a lot more physical. If you look at the hits, there was about 20 more today than there was yesterday, sorry. And it was just, they just didn't have as much time and space, Vancouver. Koskinen still has issues with a hard wrist shot. That's what I've noticed, even if it's from the point or somewhere around there. was a few that hit the post that definitely could have gone in. But he rebounded and he got the win, but I think the defense kind of helped him out a little bit more and didn't leave him as high and dry as they did yesterday. All in all, Oilers, I think, responded, and I think Vancouver, it took a lot out of them to win that game. So today, I just don't think they had the gas to play at this elevated level that Oilers were playing at. So let's jump straight in, shall we? So the power play, which I mentioned yesterday, was probably the most skilled power play, and this is the Oilers. It's so good to watch. Scores early. Nugent Hopkins scores a goal. And then I thought Demko was really good at the start. Outside of, even though 5 goals got scored on him, I think he had a pretty solid game. He's made some pretty great saves. I can't really say that any of the goals were a real liability on him. Maybe that second goal, which we'll get to, but a lot of it was some pretty good goals by the best player in the world right now, let alone the NHL, just the world. So good, and he sets up this goal quite nicely. Draisaitl as well, just happy to be around, and it's just scary when they're all on. It's the way that puck moves. You just pray that you survive it. You can't go on too many power plays against this team. They're going to run way too hot. 50% today, which is again another real difference maker compared to yesterday. So they managed to just get a puck to the net after a face-off win. That McDavid wins the face-off. He's really improved in the face. He's really good at the face-offs, but he's really improved to a new level this year. And then he was able to just pop that in with 0.8 seconds to go. This is probably where I'd say Demko probably needed a little bit better rebound control. I mean, it's not entirely on him, this goal, but yeah, this hurt. Them going in 2-0, I think 1-0 they might have been able to reset and come out with a new attitude. 2-0, it's kind of like, oh, this is going to be a tough night. It's going to be rough. They came out, Schmidt missed probably his 4th shot in a row on net, but was able to sort of get a real low like heat seeker, and it bounced out of the net too. I've never seen a puck go in that low and bounce out with the ferocity that it did. And it's 2-1 very early on in the period, and you're kind of like, oh, okay. Demko makes another great save. Koskinen, just not comfortable with him as a goalie, and I think this is what's going to rue the Oilers. It hurt them yesterday. I really think that would have been the difference if he made a couple of big saves. He did make a couple of those saves today, and again, they could have easily got 5 goals scored on them, but he did make a few good saves, and I just think the defense was a little bit better. But the 2-1 score didn't last too long, lasted about 5 minutes as the Vancouver went back on the penalty kill, and Connor McDavid running through. Edler just thought was like, yeah, he's going to take this around the net, and then he stops on the dime and just turns and fires it. And at that point, you're just like, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not only he's a video game. Everyone else around him is also a video game on like rookie difficulty. It was just not fair what he was able to do, and he just throws that puck top shelf. It's 3-1, and I'm like, oh, he's going here. And again, another high slot player that is just not covered by Vancouver Canucks ends up being a tip to Mott. So that line there of like Roussel and Beagle is again scoring another goal. So really big on them, especially the contracts they're playing. They're going to need for them to elevate their game this year and just be around for those handy points. So they get in with a bit of a chance at the third period. It's still somewhat up in the air. I mean, yeah, it's 4-2, but it's still a chance. So yeah, and then the game starts to open up from this point on. About halfway mark, 3-2, the game really starts to open up. Both teams are really getting some shots on net. At this point, it's just trying to get shots to the net. I feel like both teams pretty much have the same game plan. It's starting to open up. Demko makes a great save on McDavid in front of the net. However, can't get the rebound, although it still was a great save, and it ends up being 4-2. And at that point, it was kind of like, this is where the game is. I feel like Vancouver didn't really have the run of play anymore. Nugent Hopkins was able to score again, and it really was like, oh, okay, this is kind of done from this point. Koskinen made like 2 pretty good saves. Pedersen hit the post. That could have changed the game a little bit, but yeah, that was that. From then on, it was kind of their game to lose, and they managed to win that 5-2. And now we move to probably one of the more drama-filled games of today. The Sharks versus the Coyotes. 4-3 to the Sharks in a shootout, and it was a pretty up and down game. So it started. Sharks came out. Sharks came out ready to play this game. I think it's pretty safe to say. Martin Jones made a couple of good saves in the first period. He looked. I don't want to say the goalie that was a few years ago when he was great when they went on their cup run, or their cup final run. But he looked better than he has before. I wasn't too sketchy about him. Arizona's super unlucky. I think they hit the post, I want to say 5 times. Brassard twice, one in overtime. Garland in the shootout. They're such an unlucky team sometimes scoring. Today was no different for them. But let's jump in. So the real problem for the start of this game for Arizona is that they couldn't defend down low and they couldn't defend in front of the net. Power play in front ends up being a pretty juicy rebound to Hurdle after Kane in front of the net, who, by the way, obviously the whole bankruptcy thing, it's good to see him out there playing. Hurdle ends up getting a goal, and we're away 1-0. And it wasn't too long after that 2-0 happened, there was a player free right in front of the net. Like, it was just unbelievable. Pass was meant to go to him from down low. It ended up bubbling out straight to Hurdle, and Hurdle pops it in, and it is 2-0. And you're kind of like, oh no, Arizona's in trouble. Their defense really did not look at... they looked all out at sea. Offensively, they weren't generating much. I think they had 5 shots to 13 or 12. Garland seemed like he was trying, but I was like, oh, bless his little cotton socks, because I didn't think he had the skill. A little bit wrong on that one, but yeah. As for about his 3rd or 4th scoring attempt, Garland puts it on the net. It comes off Brett Burns' stick, goes above Martin Jones, and it is 2-1. And all of a sudden, there was a bit more life in the arena. There was actually fans at the game too, which I was just a little bit nervous about. So I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that's a thing. Credit for Arizona. It looked like they were down and out, and they just kept coming back. Vander Kane probably has one of the goals of the day, just on a bit of a breakaway, throws it past one of the defenders. He's in one-on-one on Kemper, and he just can't keep up with it. And great move, great fake to the back, and just able to shove that in. 3-1, and again, you got full faith in the Sharks, but that's when they just stopped playing. I don't know why. They stopped hitting, they stopped dominating the game, they went into defense turtle mode. Which I do get. You need to be able to defend the lead, but you also, at some point, need to be at the other zone. And they just really weren't up against a team that isn't super renowned for their offense. I mean, they've had one 30-goal scorer in the last decade, so they're not exactly renowned for getting pucks on the net. But yeah, they turtled, and spoiler alert, didn't go very well. Garland flying through again. The player that I've noticed beats like 3 Sharks, draws a penalty. I was like, great play to draw a penalty. It never really looked like a scoring chance, and then lo and behold, Clayton Keller's just by himself in front of the net, and all the Sharks players stop skating. They just give the puck to him, and he had a down year last year, Keller, but like, you give him that much time and space, he's got to rip one, and it's not on Jones to stop that. That was such a good shot. It's 3-2, and there's a little bit of worry in the back of the head now. I thought Jones was quite good for the next bit of the 3rd period. I thought he was able to hold everything down. I really don't think Sharks had any great scoring chances. Again, Sharks were lucky. They rang the pipe a few times in some key points, but with about 13 seconds to go, they get the puck to the net, an offensive zone. And again, they're really driving a lot of the offense for the last 10 minutes. And Kessel somehow managed to get it in after Garland throws it in front of the net. And it just seemed everything he touched turned to gold today. I wouldn't exactly say a lot of this stuff was conventional, but yeah, sometimes your stuff just turns to gold. Kessel puts it in front of the net. Not a usual place where he's used to scoring goals. Like, it's kind of like a Hornquist-like position back in the Penguin days. But yeah, gets it in, 3-3, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is so big for Arizona to have a goodish year. They managed to get in the playoffs last year after winning the play-in round. I mean, they got destroyed, but just the fact that they were there, I think, did a lot for them. And so you're kind of hoping they could do that again. Over time, they really dominated. Outside of at least the start of it till the penalty, it was all them. Had a 2-0. Needed to do better on that. Brassard before that hit the post on a backhand. That definitely beat Jones, and I was like, yeah, Jones is definitely not convincing me that he's back to 100%, but he was definitely better this game. That 2-0 needs to go in. It just has to. And they give away a penalty. I think if it kept going and they didn't give away a penalty there, they may have been able to squeak out a win in OT. Goes to a shootout, and they just don't have the talent, I think, to get that done in the shootout. Just that's where the raw skill came out for the Sharks. Jones was good when he had to. I mean, he saved the 2-on-0. He managed to save a few 2-on-1s as well and a couple of breakaways. Especially early, I did forget to mention, like, there was a Garland breakaway at the start that he saved. So he was good, but, like, I just feel like a breakaway on another scorer who had a bit more skill, I feel like they would have scored on Jones. Then it just didn't look convincing. I don't know why I'm saying that. If you contradict me or if you understand what I'm saying, put that in the comments down below. But yeah, I'm just not 100% convinced. However, ends up getting done. Couturier ends up scoring, and Couture. Couture ends up scoring to end up taking it home. But yeah, the Sharks went 2 from 2, and that was the difference, is that they could only get the Arizona could only get 1 out of the 3. But a lot of drama, a lot of late drama in this game. It was a bit entertaining more as the game progressed on. I feel like teams sort of got into it. But yeah, these two teams are going to struggle, I think, this year if they keep up with this. But they are kind of fighting for that 4th spot. They're definitely both in that conversation. But yeah, Shark getting that early lead. I still think they've got some big holes to consider. But 2 points is 2 points, and you're always going to take that to the bank. Oh, one more game after this one. It's been a big day. Golden Knights, Anaheim Ducks. Sorry for no Golden Knights jersey. I do have a reverse retro of theirs coming, so you'll get to see that jersey come in. I reckon that's a really underrated reverse retro. But anyway, let's dive straight in. So the game started, and it was what was to be expected, right? It was Vegas Golden Knights early. Martinez with a really big heads-up play, really keeping his eyes up. Seeing Marchand just had a quick second, and the defense just obviously being the first minute of the first game, a little bit slow to react, so he just, it was a really good play to just notice that, a veteran play to just notice that someone was slightly out of position, and Marchand just whips it by Gibson. Not really his fault on this one, but it's 1-0 early, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, this is to be a little bit expected. A minute passes, and the 4th line gets to work. Reeves down low manages to get an interception off to Nozak, and he scores, and all of a sudden it is 2 goals in 2 minutes, and the 4th line has scored for the Golden Knights, and you're like, yeah, okay, this is probably not going to be the greatest day of the for in Anaheim history, and a bit of a shame. I was kind of, I don't have high hopes for this team, but I think a lot of their fans just want them to be slightly competitive in games and understand if they fall away at the end. And then Comtois just happened to be about the net, and it was this moment of about 5 or 10 minutes where the Anaheim Ducks woke up and played a game. And the one thing I'll say about Golden Knights, who did win this 5-2, is that they played a solid 60 minutes, and Anaheim just didn't have the skill to be able to do that throughout this whole game. I thought Gibson was quite good for the Ducks as well. I'll give him his credit. But yeah, Comtois scores, makes it 2-1, and then Getzlaf on the forecheck of all people. I was like, I didn't know he still had that in him. Gets the puck, really hard-nosed effort, and then does the cross crease, and Comtois makes it 2-2, and it's a bit of a game. But then from then on, outside of a post hit by the Ducks, it was just Vegas. Like, a lot of their scoring chances were really not really on. I think Leonard would like that first Comtois goal back. I mean, not doing much of the second one, you're really not, but I think he wouldn't have minded the first one. It just kind of went underneath there. But the rest of it was all the Golden Knights. It really was. In the second period, they had a couple of breakaways. I think Pacioretty would want to have a few of those back, especially the 2-on-0 that he took himself on a low percentage. He could have opened it up a bit or faked the pass and then shot. He just kind of rushed it. It was almost like he thought that his teammate was an Anaheim Duck, so he just fired it off. He had another breakaway as well, but that was unsuccessful. Not to say that he had a bad game, but yeah, just might be a little bit of ring rust to start off with. So they weren't able to score in the second period. The Ducks, like I said, did hit the post. It was really their only real scoring chance throughout the period. Like I said, this was the point where the Knights were really just starting to play their own. This whole game was just the Knights. And the Ducks scored 2 goals. They're competitive. They're in the match for the first 2 periods. I think if you're a Ducks fan, you'd probably take this up against an absolute juggernaut. And this is the best team that the Knights have had to start a season. This is the best team the Knights have had, really. Yeah, like it just from the third period on, it was just done. Stone gets a little bit free and manages to put the puck in the net at the very start of the third period. Brand new captain, by the way, and he makes it 3-2. And then from there, it was just over. It was really just over. Individual brilliance by Stone to get a great assist in chipping it by a player and then at the blue line diving to get the pass to Pacioretty, who just puts it in 5-hole through Gibson. Again, like Gibson would probably like to have that back, but I thought he was so solid in the first and second periods that you can't fault him. Eventually, like these whole high-scoring chances to come back to bite you in the ass, and there was an empty net goal by Tuck. They really played... One thing that Vegas plays really well is the boards. Like, you look at that last goal. Like, if you go watch the replay, it's a bounce off the boards to a free player, and they did that a few times. Like Stone with the assist to Pacioretty, same thing, just doing that. Theodore had a couple of big chances. That was, he obviously didn't get on the score sheet, but, like, I really wanted to mention him just because I thought he had a great game. All in all, great game. Courtois, tried hard. I mean, two of those goals aren't exactly the hardest goals they're going to get, and you didn't see too much after him. Sam Steele was on the scoreboard as well. I just don't know that there's much positive stuff to talk about the Ducks. They're in a division from hell. I think they're one of the weaker teams in it. So, but we'll see how they match up against the other California teams. But I do think they're going to hurt a bit. Last one. Am I defeated? Yeah, I'm pretty defeated. It's been a long day. There's going to be worse days than this, but at least tomorrow it's not as many games. So we get through it. Minnesota Wild, the LA Kings. Not too much to say about this game. It was a pretty good game to watch. Pretty good game. I got to watch most of it just because it was the later game, and by the end it was kind of the only one on by itself. So let's jump straight in. I've talked too much. Let's just get into this thing. I thought the Wild were good early. I thought they jumped out with a bit of heart, a bit of start, and again, they're playing for that last playoff spot. Now, this is a sneaky team. This is the team that I think could be quite good if they get some solid goaltending from Talbot. Kaprizov, I think, is the real deal. He's my nomination for a Calder. I got him in fantasy. Which I remember there was like two guys in the chat that were like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is the pick that separates the winners from the losers." So he started off with Kaprizov getting his first point in the NHL. Firing a puck through, managed to find a trailer flukishly after it got past like 4 players. Brodin picks it up and just roofs it, and it is 1-0 pretty early on in the game. So, pretty positive signs from here. Jeff Carter does what the LA Kings do best. I don't know why they're good at this. They seem to just score buzzer beaters. I don't know why. He manages to score with about a second left on the ice. It was a face-off play, goes to the net, and he manages to just tuck that in. He really turned the clock back a fair bit this game, Jeff Carter. He comes up again in a moment in the second period. In a weird second period. This is where the game just became weird. LA got into some really bad penalty trouble. 6 in total. 6 power plays for the Minnesota Wild. They went 0 for 6 this game. And I didn't hate the Minnesota Wild power play. I just think they're a little bit predictable. I'd like them to add another quiver somewhere, like just something into that. I don't know what it is, but they just seem to have the 2 people left and right for the one-timer, and that seems to be what they want to do. I think they need to create a little bit more chaos than that, so that was a bit disappointing. And they had 2 goals scored against them. One, Jeff Carter flying down the wing, putting it on the net. This was on the power play, and it ends up being Athanasiou's goal, but that's because Dumbo pretty much puts it on Athanasiou's stick, and you'll never score an easier goal in your life. All he had to do was drive to the net and literally just have his stick there. It was going in no matter what. So he gets his first goal. Welcome to LA. The next one was Kempe, gets it behind the net, and it gets shoved in by another Wild player, and I think. You look at Talbot in that play, he's like, that came off. Like, you can just tell he's like, that came off you, didn't it? Came off his stick, it came off his skate, and then his stick, and then went in. So it was 3-1. And then I think from there, Talbot really put his presence on the game. It was probably the difference. I didn't hate Quick this game, although could have been a bit worse. Like, Wild were able to hit the post a few times. But the comeback was on. Kaprizov gets his second assist, giving it to Rask, who fires it from pretty far out. It manages to squeak through. It looked like goaltender interference at the end of the goal, And then he looked at the replay and was like, oh no, it was fine. But like, you know when it just looks terrible, like at the end when everyone has their hands up, but they're kind of like, oh, that might be goaltender interference. Breeze didn't even touch it till afterwards, but yeah, like it's not fun being a goalie. You get let in a goal and then just some like 200-pound man just falls on your spine. Not exactly a treat. And then Olli Mata, as much as I love him, for those of you who don't know, I have 14 Olli Mata Pittsburgh Penguins jerseys because I don't value money. Terrible. Like, he goes to get the puck out of the zone, he just doesn't get it far enough. I thought the Greenaway Foligno Eck line was probably the best line for the Wild all game. I was pretty happy they got rewarded for a goal. Manages to keep it in, goes down low. Foligno is free after the puck was bubbling around, and Olli Mata's just doing these ones. He had no idea where that puck was. It's 3-3. And we're going into overtime with this team at the Wild on a power play for a minute. And again, they hit a post, but it was the outside of the post, so you kind of like, nah, we can't really call that a poster. And no real positive chances there. And then, again, it's been the theme of the day. Too cute. You're just being too cute with the puck. Brown tries a little back pass to Doughty. Doughty just didn't have enough mustard on it, and it just floated up there. Keprasov was like, yes, please. Charges in and it, picks it up, takes it to the zone, digs himself into a goal. I think that's the best way to say it. He confused himself that much with his stick handling skills. It hit his skate. Wasn't a kicking motion. It went in. The Wild win in overtime, 4-3. I think the way that the Kings played with some of their lucky goals, they'll take a point. If you're a fan of the Kings, you'll take your point. It could be a handy point. You never know. I just don't think that they're going to be quite there. They'll go as far as Quick can take them, but their defense just doesn't seem to be quite up to scratch. I like Jeff Carter's game, but I'll give you that. Wild, but I thought that third line. They roll a lot of their lines, but I did like Greenaway's game, and obviously Keprasov was great. And we're going to aim for 7, but this took 3 hours. So, and I've still got to edit it, so it's a lot. It's a lot to get everything going. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. See you, and bye. How good is that hockey's back butt? I know I complained about the work, but how good?